I'm just going to do a quick testing to make sure we have our volume together.
Seems like everything is fine.
Testing. Okay, we're good to go. All right, what's up, everyone? I am Reese.
And I am Ayana.
And this is The
Living Room.
Today we are going to be reacting to Candace Owens.
And we will also be briefly discussing the Hebrews to Negroes film. So yes, let's get into it. So Candace Owens has a podcast called the Candace Owens Podcast. And she put out an episode, I believe this is episode 36, discussing or talking about why she is not turning her back on Kyrie Irving. So I am going to go ahead and play that for you all. Give me 1 second. That's not right. Okay, so yes, this is episode 36, why I'm not turning my back on Kyrie Irving.
They're humiliating him. They just want to humiliate him. They want to take money from him, and they want to show to everybody else that we have the full power and control over our players. And this gets into what Kyrie Irving said about feeling like he's still an emotional and a spiritual slave in this country. I've talked about this often, and it so resonates with me. Again, I'm coming from a position of feeling and not a position necessarily of fact, but I have always had this feeling that I'm not really free, right? I'm not really free to be a Black person unless I abide by somebody else's rules. I'm not really free to say what I think unless I abide by somebody else's rules. For a very long time, it was difficult for me to say I do not support Black Lives Matter. I think that they are extortionists. I do not want to have to be a victim because of the color of my skin. I don't want to fund other groups and make them more powerful and secretly know that they're not actually helping Black Americans get ahead. And I felt relegated almost to that position based on the color of my skin. That's what it means to be an emotional slave, right? Is to be told perpetually that you have to be a victim. And now, in many ways, they're proving his point, that he is trying to express to you guys that he has held on to this hurt from the time he was a little boy of not knowing where he came from. And he felt that this documentary, which by the way, I watched, and it looks like a PowerPoint. It is so low budget, and it's so poorly done, and it's very confusing. But despite me feeling all those ways about the documentary, I do understand why the documentary makers, as Black people, wanted to go on this journey to simply try to understand where they came from. Their conclusions potentially wrong. So let's relegate those conclusions to a debate. Let's have a conversation. Let's not.
So that was, again, Candace Owens giving her statement as to why she's not turning her back on Kyrie. My initial thoughts were, Candace, she begins stating that, she's for Kyrie Irving. She is for him trying to figure out who he is and his roots, and trying to figure out who he is. And that has been something that the Black community, struggles with. She also mentioned of how she doesn't feel like she has to support something or be a part of a certain group because she is Black. And she mentioned her not supporting the Black Lives Matter movement and things of that nature. So she understands where he's coming from and why he put the link out for the film. But then she goes downhill when she mentions that her thought was that the film was low budget and it looks like a PowerPoint and it was poorly done. But yet she understands why the filmmakers, with an S, wanted to go on the journey of figuring out who they were. So with that being said, it's like, I question, did you really watch the film?
No.
Because, I question if she really watched the film, because it's like, you mentioned that it's very low budget, and those that despite her thoughts, she understands why they made the film. So is that all you think about the film? That's all you got out of the 3.5 hours? You and I, Reese, have watched this film together, and although it was very long and it was very jam-packed with lots of information thrown at you, but I cannot say that it's low budget. And for her to also say that she understands why the filmmakers, they wanted to go on this journey. If you watch the film to the end, the credits, it says Ron Dalton Jr. was the producer, the writer, the director. He was the voice in the film. He was a one-man show pretty much. And that's not, let me also give credit to, he also had someone do the photography and the editing for the film. But besides that, Ron Dalton seemingly produced the film himself. He did all the groundwork. He had to do the research himself. And mind you, he's working off his own budget. So it's like, you can't expect, and I don't understand why, when it comes to things that we do, especially putting out information that is factual, why it has to be presented in this, I don't know, Marvel movie style way or something, that's immaculate, when it's like he's seemingly trying to get the information out there as to who we are and putting out the facts of the matter. So, Reese, what saith you on this Candace Owens?
This is what I had to say, and this is directly to Candace Owens. Candace, I appreciate your contribution to, what's really going on in the world, right? We love the Candace Owens that presents factual information. We love the Candace Owens that does her research. We love the Candace Owens that makes, documentaries researching the truth behind the BLM and George Floyd situations. We love that, Candace Owens, and we would actually love if you kept that same energy towards things that involve spirituality, especially our spirituality, right? And so you have this Hebrew, this Black guy who's taking his time to put and dedicate, a lot of hours of his life into researching, this truth. And could it have been put together better? Maybe. I have my gripes with it. Do I believe that the information presented was factual? Absolutely. Do I believe that the information was presented in a way that was easily digestible? No, I don't. Right. But I'm not going to knock his hard work and his effort that he put towards this very important topic. Right. You and Ye marched around in White Lives Matter shirts to prove that all lives matter, right? And that this is essentially a spiritual battle, right? So we need that same energy in this issue. We need you to say something positive about the documentary. If you had nothing positive to say, okay, fine, but then list the facts of why you didn't like the documentary, like hardcore facts. Was it that, the facts that he presented you didn't believe were facts? Because he definitely provided the references for you to go do your own research. Was it that this is just a touchy topic that you don't really want to be involved in? You could have said that as well, because we know that you've had your runarounds with the Jewish mafia, and you don't want to be picked on again. Right. And so if that's the case, then Candace, we need you to say that, because we value your realness, but you can't decide that now you're not going to be real. You can be real and say, I don't want to deal with the Jewish mafia right now. And that's fine. We will love you the same. But what we don't appreciate and what we can't rock with is this you just downplayed this man's he tried, right?
Hard work.
Yeah, his hard work, yes, right? He's not on the corner.
Research.
Yeah, his research, right? He's not on the corner selling crack rocks, right? And so we appreciate that he's in his house doing some research, right? And we appreciate that he can actually pull up factual information, right? And so he should get some credit for that at the bare minimum.
And it's like, to me, you know, she stated that despite all her thoughts about the film, and that was stated right after she mentioned all the negative aspects. So my question to you, Candace, is that all that you pulled out from the film? Because like we mentioned, there was a lot of information in there. And then it's like, if there were other things that, you know, her, including Candace or whoever, felt that there were negative aspects about the film, like you said, we want to see the receipts. We need the timestamps. Yeah. So that if we are to have a discussion, we need you to come with that information. So possibly even that, you know, Ron Dalton himself can speak about, you know, the content that he created.
Absolutely.
And so it's like we want to hear more than just your opinion or your feelings about the situation. We want to see, where can you pinpoint this occurred?
We want you to be you. When Breonna Taylor got killed, you showed up with the facts and the receipts of the matter.
Yes.
We want you to be you. Show up as you do all the time in the same manner in which you show up in. This is not a time for feelings.
And see, that is my thing. And that leads me to believe, do you show up when it comes to certain things depending on who you're battling against or you're going up against? Because when, like you stated, when it comes to Breonna Taylor, or when it comes to people upset at you and not supporting Trump, or supporting Trump, or when it comes to you putting out information about Black Lives Matter and how you're not really for that, you were ready to go heads on. But when it comes to who, you know, the film might quote unquote be against, quote unquote, or, you know, what Kanye West was talking about, you definitely, you're taking a step down. You're not being that Candace Owens that we're used to.
Right.
So I'm interested to is that the reason why? Well, this is a good segue point to speak about her next episode. I think this was the following episode, episode 37, where she titled it "Breaking My Silence on Ye in the Jewish Community." So let's find out what Candace Owens has to say about Kanye and the Jewish community.
Want to be remembered not just as a formidable enemy to the left. I am that, of course. I do not just.
1 second. That's on high speed.
Remembered not just as a formidable enemy to the left. I am that, of course. I do not just want to be remembered as a formidable enemy to any institution that seeks to harm my children. I am that, of course. I also, and I think this is the most important thing that I want to be remembered as, is a formidable friend, because I am that. I am a good friend to Ye, and an understanding friend to Ye. And I am a good friend to Dennis Prager, Marissa Strait, many other Jewish people that have been amazing to me. But I haven't been vocal in that friendship. And so I want to do that today. I want to say to those individuals who have been out there defending me while I have been silent, thank you from the bottom of my heart. It has meant the world to me. I don't want to make a habit, by the way, of defending myself against baseless smears. It's a bad game. But I think right now there is a rare occasion where there are very high tensions between the Black community and the Jewish community. And so I think it's important for me to state the obvious. I, of course, am not anti-Semitic whatsoever. I've never had an anti-Semitic bone in my body. I actually, before I married my husband, almost married a Jewish man. It's not even a thing. I feel stupid even saying that. But I do think it's important to do that because I've made it abundantly clear publicly that I'm standing by Ye as he weathers this tremendous storm. But I also recognize that I need to make it abundantly clear that I'm standing by Dennis Prager as well, and all of my other Jewish friends and supporters who are speaking out for me. and who have endured what may have felt like a very heavy silence from me. And so I want to again say thank you to all of you for understanding and knowing that the hurt that is coming from the Black community, which I can speak on, is this feeling that we have all been emotional slaves, the spiritual slavery that Kyrie Irving talked about, feeling like you have to choose between who you actually are and a paycheck, you know? And sometimes we push back on that in the wrong way, right? And I think Ye has been clear that he did that in the wrong way. Sometimes we push back on that in a certain way that is determined to be wrong, like Kyrie. And I hope that in coming to you guys with my heart in this monologue, that I am pushing back on this in the right way. And that's all I will say about that. All right, guys.
Does you have any thoughts on that?
Candace. Oh, Candace. I think Candace needs a vacation. It's just, she's going through a lot. You know, she has friends on both sides and nobody likes to be caught in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And a part of me can understand that having so many siblings and myself feeling like I was caught in the middle. But I think the key point here is that it's my siblings, and so it's different. When it's your friends, you should always be on the right side. And so it doesn't matter how people are going to take it. If people have a problem with you because you're on the right side, then they have an internal problem. They have a problem with themselves. We have been called to be the truth and to be beacons of light. That means that regardless of whose feelings are going to be hurt, I'm going to stand on the right side, in the truthful side. So, you know, okay, you have Jewish friends, fine. But is what Kanye saying wrong? He's right. And if your Jewish friends can't understand that you're going to stand on the right side, then they're not your friends, boo.
You very well stated what I was thinking. And it's like, one thing I feel like I can say is that my friends, if one thing they know about me is that I'm going to stand for the truth. And it's like, if you can't understand that, or if you can't understand why it is that I am saying what I'm saying, then are we really friends? Are you making me choose between the truth and our friendship? Because, you know, that throws things off balance and then makes things seem really murky. And the part that also that I wanted to talk about was, because honestly, I like to mention, I do understand that she might feel like she's in the middle and she doesn't want to pick a side, but essentially with you doing what you did pick a side. And it's like, and this is something that I'm noticing that I guess is happening since the Kyrie or I should say Ye and Kyrie situation, is she stated towards the end, like, and she mentioned about the Black community, and she said, because this is something that I can speak on. I just really find that interesting, because it's like, are you paying attention to what is happening? You said you watched the Hebrews to Negro movie. Are you listening to what is happening? Because why do you feel like, and especially what you said in the previous episode, you said you don't want to be condemned to just because you're a part of the Black community, yet you're speaking on it. And it's like, well, what Kyrie is essentially doing is expanding what the Black community looks like. And it's like, don't condemn me to only speak on one particular thing because you feel like that's comfortable. That's all we've been taught to know about slavery and Black Lives Matter and police brutality and things of that nature. We're exploring other avenues, and those other avenues happen to be of Hebrew and Jew faith, not Jewish, but of Jew faith.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I also don't like the fact that she says that she feels like the way Kyrie went about it was in the wrong way, or is completely wrong. From my knowledge and what I remember seeing is all he did was post a link. So I'm not really sure.
Yeah, and it had no word.
There was no word. So it's like, I'm not really sure what was wrong about that.
He can't share what he wants. He's a grown man in America with freedom of speech. Are you kidding me?
But I guess that speech is limited to, again, a particular group of people. You can speak freely unless it's about a particular type of people.
Yeah, people's opinions, no.
Yeah.
But again, she had her own run-ins with these people.
Yeah.
So she's treading lightly now.
Mm-hmm.
And we see that.
No, absolutely.
But I need to say one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Candace, if I was Ye and you issued that statement, you wouldn't be my friend.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely.
And let's be clear about this, because she's a believer, or appears to be a believer, because nowadays you never know.
Mm-hmm.
But if you think there's a time coming where you're not going to have to pick a side, a clear side,
mm-hmm.
then you've lost your mind, Candace.
Yeah.
And you should go find it.
Immediately. I guess I'm just tired of people just speaking on the matter, or slightly getting into it, not fully saying what the realness. If you're going to speak on it factually, wholeheartedly, not half-stepping, and if not, just don't even speak on it at all. You don't have to make a comment. You don't have to make a statement. You could say, I choose not to speak on it during this time, or something.
Absolutely.
Because I feel like what you're doing is potentially more harm than good. You're not really adding to the situation.
Yeah, because you could have took it as you could have taken the time to educate your audience. And you just, really, it was a disservice.
Mm-hmm.
That Candace didn't win any points with me for that.
No.
And honestly, I expected more from her.
Like you said, to be the Candace Owens that she always is.
Yeah. So I think it's interesting that, I don't know if it was that same episode, but there was an episode where she said, people were worried that she was going to sell out or something like that. I'm not sure if you saw that episode or if it was the same episode, but I just find it
the same one.
Yeah, I find it quite ironic that you are walking a thin line.
Absolutely.
Here.
Yeah.
So I guess since we have talked about the Candace Owens fiasco, we can move into our brother Ron Dalton's Hebrews to Negroes, Wake Up Black America documentary, and just talk about it briefly, to give our feedback and how we felt when we watched it, because we did watch it. And with all of the negative attention towards the movie, we thought that we would give some positivity to our brother Ron Dalton, but also be honest at the same time. Like, we don't want to sugarcoat anything.
This is the living room.
Absolutely.
We're going to be honest.
Absolutely. And so I'll go first. I think that it was very long. We mentioned that earlier. I also mentioned how I felt that it should have been in digestible chunks. The chunks were, it seemed like a never ending information bomb. So it was like fact after fact after fact after fact after fact, which is good, right? We need facts, we need receipts, but maybe something more digestible. So maybe I would have probably wanted to see like 30 to 45-minute chunks of information presented. Maybe he could have added some interviews in. But what I felt like he did a really good job at, because a lot of the information I was privy to, what I felt and what kind of shocked me is, it's very hard to shock me these days. What kind of shocked me was the information that he presented on the Native Americans and the darker skinned Indians. That was information that I was not privy to. And I thought that that was very inclusive. And it just speaks volume for his character that he would even think to include these other groups of marginalized people.
No, I agree with you on that matter. Being able to, I feel like it was a very, although it was lengthy, like you mentioned, because it was jam-packed with a lot of factual information, that he also put references in the midst of the video. So at any moment, you could pause it and go and write that down, or, you know, look at the references that he used. He included many different groups. So it's not just Black folks in America, like you mentioned. He included a whole slew of other tribes and things like that. So I really like that piece about it too, because it makes it feels like it's well-rounded, like it's covering many spots. I definitely agree with you when you mentioned that it should have been broken up into pieces just to make it more digestible, because I do think that there were moments in time where I might have been an overload and I might have missed, you know, some key points that I might not have known already. And so if it was more digestible, I could have been able to really hone in and take in the information that was presented to me. But overall, I definitely appreciate you putting it all in one film at the same time, because now what we can do ourselves is take it piece by piece. You did put it in chapters, so we can maybe go chapter to chapter and break down the information and really dig in. And also, there is a book, and I am definitely more, probably because of the amount of information and what is being said, I would rather have the book, or rather look through the book, because I feel like that's something tangible I can highlight and things of that nature. That's just me, how I am as a person, being able to highlight and write notes down. But I definitely appreciate the film, as I stated before, and the hard work you've put into it. I appreciate just having that. I guess it's like a one-stop shop if you want a quick information on something.
Somebody.
You say what?
I said, if you want to drop a load off on somebody, just a load full of information, you watch the movie or get the book. I have the book. I've had the book for years now. And it is a lot of information in the book. I mean, Ayana and I, we've sat in on a class. We've mentioned that before. And he has a wealth of information. You can tell that this guy has dedicated his life to researching the truth.
Absolutely. And this is not something that he's taken lightly, which is why I definitely feel, regardless to how people might feel the way it's presented or the way it looks, he definitely put his information in it, and he made sure to, I feel like there was a certain flow. I know Candace Owens mentioned that it was confusing, but I think that there was a lot of information in there, and it was put into sections. So like I mentioned, definitely breaking it down chapter to chapter might be the best way. If people are looking to watch the film that have not watched it yet, I definitely encourage people to watch it. Gather your own opinions of the film. We would like to hear it. If you want to, put your comments down below. If you've watched it, if you haven't watched it, we would greatly appreciate that. And I don't want people to be discouraged from watching the film based off what you might be hearing, because there were a lot of good information in the film. All of it was pretty good if you ask me, to be honest, but definitely take it slow. Pause it if you need to, because it is lengthy.
Get a notebook.
Absolutely, get a notebook.
And one thing, now I'm gonna keep it real with y'all. We always gonna keep it real in the living room. Because we were in the living room when we were watching this, and I definitely took a few naps, maybe like 3 cat naps. But when I was up, I didn't see anything that was anti-Semitic, and I did not see anything that stated the Holocaust was not true. Now, Ayana can speak for the whole movie because she was up the entire movie, and I asked her, did I miss something? Did they say that? And she was like, no. So where is the media getting this information from?
Well, actually, I feel like I can speak on an idea, or I have a postulation as to where they might have gotten it from. This is something that we've talked about before on a different platform, but about speaking what someone else said and just repeating that and having that be a snowball effect, and it just get bigger and bigger.
Yes.
To the point where you don't have a reference as to what you're speaking about because you haven't even watched it. And so the things that you're saying is like, do you have a timestamp? I didn't see any anti-Semitic information in that movie. And it doesn't make sense for there to be any anti-Semitic information in the movie.
Yeah, he didn't even focus on the other people.
No.
He focused on us.
Yes.
And I think that's what makes everybody so frustrated, Who are they to dedicate 3 hours of hardcore facts to support them?
And I think that's the thing that baffles me, because it's like, do you all really want to control the narrative for us to just focus on slavery? Because what about before? What about the information before that? There's so much that happened before we became slaves and were brought here to America. So are you going to just keep us subject to our once every couple years slave movies and let that be that? Is that enough? Are you telling us that those movies should be enough for us? Yeah,
I think that's what they're saying. And you see that with the 6 steps that Kyrie needed to take. You see that. It's like, it's mind-blowing to see that in 2022, we still don't have freedom of speech. We still do not have decent access to quality education. We still are being fed lies and drinking the Kool-Aid.
That's the problem.
Even though everybody's plant-based now, everybody's living healthier and everybody's on a health kick, and you're still drinking the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, you gotta get out and get into the wilderness.
Yeah.
And you can do it literally, but you gotta detach. You gotta unplug from this system, because you're never going to know the truth. You're never going to be set free.
Yeah. And you need to be set free, because once you are free, you can get a lot of downloads, a lot of truth, and you can essentially get out of Babylon and into the land that was promised to our forefathers.
Absolutely.
And that's what we all that's our goal, right?
Absolutely.
And so if you're watching this, right, Ron Dalton is in the promised land right now with his family. He's been there for a little bit.
Yeah.
So he's not really worried about anything at this point, because he's not even here.
No, he doesn't have to
be like him when I grow up.
Absolutely. Give us some steps on how we can be like you, Ron Dalton.
With his, what did Candace Owens say? His low budget film. He's right in Africa. So
Right where he needs to be.
Right where he needs to be. So there's that.
Yeah.
I think, like Ayana said, we definitely encourage you to get the movie. Watch it for yourself, get the books, read them. There are other books outside of Ron Dolan's books. If you type in Hebrews on Amazon, there are plenty of things that come up. There are many resources, right? I encourage everybody, read as much as you can. Don't forget to read your Bibles, right? Go outside of your Bible, so you're going to get that apocrypha, right? You know, you're going to go look at historical documents. You have what's that? Josephus, I think that's his name, if I'm pronouncing that right. You have a ton of historians that can provide you with extra data to prove what you are reading in a majority of the scriptures is accurate. And that's what we want to do. We want to become scholars. We want to get as much knowledge and understanding as we can. That way, when these people come up against us, we can back up what it is that we believe. And I want to say that we are living in a time where every single word we're going to be accountable for it. So if you're leading people away from the truth, you're going to be accountable for that.
Absolutely.
So we have to be aware of the influence that we have. We have to be aware of the words that we speak and the power that they have. And for those of us who are not easily led astray, we have to understand that there are double, triple the amount of sheep out there who are waiting for us to speak so that they can be led in a specific direction. And so sometimes before we speak, we might want to just stop and think, what is the intended outcome? If I say this, is the outcome that I'm projecting going to be the outcome that actually happens? Or is this going to come out in a way that gives an outcome contrary to what I want to happen? And then once we've sat and we've thought about that for some time and we've counted the cost, then we can present and speak on different subjects.
I think that that's something that people have to really assess and think about or learn how to do. It's counting the cost. Because especially now more than ever, what you say is going to catch up to you really quickly. And if you have not counted the cost for that, it's going to be a bad situation for you. But if you have, you'll know how to maneuver through the situation because you have counted the cost. Yes. And are not just spewing, or saying things that you're going to regret later on.
Yeah. And I think everybody, even with Shaq, we see Shaq, right? And he's said things that now he probably regrets.
Right, right.
You came strongly up against Kyrie when your movie theater played the film and you took pictures with the Hebrew Israelites and told them that you knew exactly who you were, right? So I'm sure Shaq is sitting back like, oh, I didn't think this through.
Yeah.
And we won't even talk about Charles Barkley. Because he's disgusting.
No, absolutely.
We'll skip over him because we're live and I'm counting the cost right now.
Absolutely.
And I think that it's better to preserve myself and my image and the words that I would choose to express how I feel towards him would not be appropriate. They wouldn't be ladylike. And I feel that it's best to skip the topic.
Sounds good. I understand that because I know what it is that you might have said. So I understand. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Any final comments or words that you would like to say?
No, I think I have said enough, and I'm thankful for you all tuning in.
Yes.
We love to have you in the living room.
Absolutely.
We love to kick it, and we wish we could be here all night, but it is almost 12 a.m. where we are.
Yes.
And so we got to get out of the living room and go to the bedroom.
Yes. So thank you all for watching another episode of The Living Room. I am Ayana once again.
I'm Reese.
And this has been another episode of The Living Room.
Bye.
Bye.